Lara Trump coming to you from my home in New York, where we're hunkered down to help flatten the curve. True to form, the left won't let this crisis go to waste, and their only hope is sleepy Joe Biden. Joining me is director, producer, and co-host of Grow Up Live, Robbie Starbuck. Robbie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Well, there's so much to talk about when it comes to the left, to Joe Biden, even in the midst of a crisis, when you would think, Robbie, that the whole country could come together, that we could all put politics aside. The left has fought against all of the president's solutions, but I think many people probably don't find that surprising anymore. What do you think about that?
Well, sadly, it's not surprising. I think a lot of us would like to be surprised, but surprised at this point would be them being supportive and wanting the best thing for our country.
Right.
At this point, it feels like, they just hate Trump more than they love our country. And the sad thing is the left is no longer just a Democratic Party. This is the media, too. We see it every day at these press briefings, With our kids home, we watch the press briefings to see what the latest update is. And every day, without fail, the media goes in there like they're an opposition party. Instead of going in there with questions to, want to educate people and make them more informed, they're going in there to have a debate with the president of the United States. And it's honestly, it's just totally inappropriate. So this is happening. We see Nancy Pelosi. She's busy eating $15 ice cream from her $24,000 fridge, while delaying a bill to fund small businesses.
Robbie, we know that they can't help themselves. And the first stimulus bill, the Democrats could not let it go to waste to get their radical socialist agenda in there. We saw that they tried to get the Green New Deal as part of that. They tried to put all kinds of crazy things into this stimulus bill that was meant to help bolster small businesses, to get people paychecks right now that are going without paychecks. I mean, what are they doing? Why take this moment to try and put forward these crazy radical ideas when this country is in crisis and everybody is looking for a solution?
It's just so incredibly frustrating. I live in Tennessee now, left LA last year to raise my kids in a place where values aligned better. And I talk to people, my neighbors on the phone on a regular basis or Zoom, and what I'm hearing back is just disbelief that this is where they're going. So, my backstory is my mom came here from Cuba legally, and so having an immigrant mom coming from, a Hispanic family that experienced socialism and communism, that was the first thing I keyed in on during this crisis, was that you were starting to see these left-wing governors and senators and congresspeople that they were looking for ways to push and advance this agenda. And I think a lot of Americans are also getting a taste of what this looks like, what socialism looks like, and they don't even realize it. When you go to the store and you see a limit on meat, these are the things in a very light sort of sense that you end up, it cascades, it goes down in a snowball effect in these socialist countries where eventually there's no meat or inflation goes so high that you can't afford it. And when you see that, this is a direct result of their policies, what they're pushing with the Green New Deal, what they're pushing with, wanting to fund abortions during, while we're supposed to be negotiating just a clean bill to help Americans. It's unbelievable. So going from that, it reminds me, though, of how lucky I am to be in America, because I'm just so thankful that the president is the person that is behind that desk signing these executive orders and making the decisions, because I just feel so incredibly lucky to be here, having had a family that lived through this somewhere else. And so seeing the way Democrats are operating through this, trying to use it as an excuse to advance their socialist agenda, it just makes me want to redouble my efforts and confirms to me that my choice to come out as a director who's directed, Oscar-winning actors and actresses and the biggest music stars in the world, it confirms to me I made the right choice to come out despite the backlash I've gotten from my industry, because I will do everything possible to elect this man again in 2020.
Well, thank you so much for having the courage, by the way, to do that. It is not easy when you come from a background like yours to, like you're saying, Hollywood and immersed in a culture that continues to shun this president, that continues to fight against him at every turn. it's really amazing that that you were, bold enough to come out and do that. So thank you for that. But I actually want to talk for a second about something you just brought up. I've gone to the grocery store now once a week. I try to go once a week in the midst of this quarantine situation here in New York. And I wait in line for about 35, 40 minutes every time. Of course, spaced 6 feet apart, wearing my mask. And when you get in the store, what you're saying is right. We are getting a small taste, Robbie, of, God forbid, what socialism might look like if it were implemented in this country. Because, I mean, you're limited on the amount of paper towels and toilet paper rolls you can buy at the grocery store. I couldn't find yeast. I've been trying to make pizza dough with my son for something fun to do. Couldn't find yeast for the longest time, limited to 2 packets of yeast now at the grocery store now that they have it back in. But these are all things that I hope Americans in the midst of this crisis are paying attention to, because that is something that could be a very, very real situation in this country. Like you just said, if socialism were implemented here in the way that the left continues to try and push, I'd like to know, I mean, I'm curious what your mom's reaction has been to things like this. Does she feel like this is maybe a flashback for her, or how's she feeling about things?
Well, I think, I talked to her a ton about this, and she sort of has a mindset that she's seeing those same sort of indicators. And the fear is really that, people don't fully grasp how quickly this can happen. You look at somebody like Bernie Sanders, okay? It was about 6-7 years ago, he had on his website, and I think it's actually still there to this day, but he was proposing this idea where it said that you're more likely to achieve the American dream in Venezuela than you are here in the United States.
Yep.
Okay. So at that point in time, he was championing everything they were doing there and saying that this is the future. This is, you have great opportunities here. Now we're at a point in time, less than a decade later, where people are eating rats. There's nothing in the stores. Kids are dying in the street. I just saw a thing, I have to say, it was the first, I swear to you, the first good reporting I've seen from the New York Times in years. They did this profile where they sent down a photographer and a journalist down to Venezuela, and they tracked these pregnant women, and they went with them while they tried to find a place to give birth. They went to 7-8 hospitals and could not get in to the hospitals. They would not let them in. Finally, they let this one woman that they profiled in at her 7th hospital, okay? She passed out on the ground. They finally let her in with that lady's mom banging on the door. And because of their inaction and their inadequate healthcare, their inadequate socialist healthcare, that mom almost died. Her baby did die, okay? That should not happen. That should not happen. There's no excuse for it. And that wouldn't happen here in America. So, those are the things that I think people don't realize how quickly that situation can snowball into something just really dystopian.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel so committed to fight to do everything I can to reelect the president and to, elect Republicans in Congress and the Senate, because it can go that quickly. And we can't take for granted that, we all think Trump's going to win. We can't take that for granted, that we think that Joe Biden is, a little bit, he's lost his fastball and probably his changeup, but we can't take for granted any of those things. We have to show up to vote.
Yep. It's why we fight every day here at the Trump campaign, and why we will not stop working for one single second, Robbie. I always say that this president has to win with such an overwhelming margin of victory this November that the Democrats can't dispute it. Forget all of their tricks. We have to be focused on getting people out, registering voters, getting people out to vote on November 3rd. It is the most important thing for the future of this country, now more than ever, Robbie, because coming out of coronavirus, we will be out of this one day. We know this president understands how to put people back to work. We know this president understands how to get our economy up and running and bring the stock market back, and all the amazing things that we saw him do in 3 short years in office, he's going to do again. We're going to be even better off after that, but we have to get him reelected. So I just want to say thank you again for all you do. Thanks for standing up and supporting this president, and thank you so much for being with us here today.
And thank you. Anything I can ever do, you let me know. I'll be there in a heartbeat to help.
You are the best. Well, we wish you and your family safe and healthy during this time.
You too. Thank you.
As the left attacks President Trump's management of the crisis, the deficiencies with Joe Biden become clearer every day. That's the real news for today. If you'd like to get involved with Team Trump, go to DonaldJTrump.com or download the official Trump 2020 app on the App Store on your iPhone or on Android from the Google Play Store. I'm Lara Trump, coming to you from my home in New York, encouraging you to stay safe throughout this crisis. Thanks for joining us, everybody.